For years, I've seen people say Jack Hanma has bad genetics, the worst in baki perhaps, always pointing at the young skinny version of him and his copious use of the special juice alongside the bodily enhancements throughout the series. People who say this are simply wrong. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Jack Hanma, the biting cyborg, has next level genetics, and here is why. So to address the young skinny version of the Hanma, this can simply be connected to his overtraining to such a degree it's at a superhuman level. For example, since he was a small child, Jack's goal was to be strong, so strong in fact, he would be called the strongest creature alive, something most people would explain as a child's dream through imaginations or a wish, but for Jack, it was far beyond that. A clear goal that he would do anything to achieve. Therefore, as a kid, he would train until a puddle of sweat surrounded him, until blood came from his eyes and nose, and only stopping when he would pass out. Bro has been doing this every day since he was a kid, and honestly just gotten more extreme as time went on, years and years, where we are outright told that the human body wasn't designed for it, and everyone watching today could not come close to this level of overtraining. That's why his body was potentially stuck in this skinny state. Bro never had a chance to recover, until of course the steroids became a part of his life, where he blew up in muscle mass and overall strength instantly. With the addition of these various substances, he got the means to recover from his beyond human training and gain the next level rewards from them. And now when it comes to his juice use, it's gotten to a level that anyone else within the baki world would likely be dead if they tried doing it. And of course, anyone within the real world, they wouldn't stand a chance even during the early days of baki. Another factor that is simply genetic. For example, when it comes to the world of bodybuilding, one's genetics play a major role and often determine who can truly be the best in the world. And this genetic factor also relates to how they respond to steroids. If you have next level muscle building genetics, but get destroyed by the negative side effects of various steroids in trying to take them, that's perhaps a genetic weakness in its own right, and often the best of all time feature both peak versions of it. Therefore, Jack's ability, which is related to genetics, allows him to survive and continue to take more and grow from these steroids, a sign of its insanity, and has always been at a beyond superhuman level, as we saw during the Maximum tournament and even in the recent crossover where Jack is performing maxing, a form of transcending at this point due to the juice. And on top of that, muscle mass wise, Jack has gone through even more insane development in a short amount of time as well. For example, to those of you who don't know, since his Maximum tournament fight with Baki, it has not been more than 2 years, meaning he went from this to this in under 2 years. Yes, he had height lengthening surgeries, but note the muscle mass alone, something you can't get with bad genetics regardless of your steroid abuse on top of that. And to expand on everything, some people even argue that one's pain tolerance is also a genetic factor, and you could say Jack is at the peak of the verse in that regard as well, due to what we've seen him do training wise and fight wise throughout the series. And those of you who are going to bring up the Udro comment about Jack's blood and try and say this is why he has bad genetics, he's literally comparing Jack to the likes of Baki, who as we know is beyond superhuman genetic wise as well, above every other Baki character outside of Udro for all we know. And you can even say that aspect has kind of been disproven in more recent days when looking at the current manga and Udro's comments about Jack, which brings us to something which is outright canon to the Baki story. Jack's overtraining has gotten to a point where it actually transcends time. During the maximum tournament, in the anime and manga, we are told he does tough training 30 hours a day. And then now, 30 years later in the current manga, in a recent chapter, Yujiro outright confirms this for Jack once again. Absolute insanity, and may connect to his genetics once again. Which brings us to the simple fact that Jack is still a Hanma. He is still one of the sons of Yujiro Hanma, the character who, as we know, is the only male within the baki world. Someone who naturally just gets stronger every day and is built beyond different. Connected to an ancestry that goes back to the ancient Egyptian times. Literal demons on top of that. Jack unlocking the demon back hasn't happened yet, but within the current arc, I believe it is very possible. Also, his mother wasn't really a nobody to any degree. She was seemingly part of the special forces and almost finessed Yujiro to a degree, which may still have more revealed about her when she does make her official return, something that could also happen in the current arc. But for those of you who don't know, the last time Jack's mother appeared in the manga was during the final chapter of the first manga series, Grappler Baki, after Jack was almost killed by the ogre. So when Jack does get the chance to face his father in an all-out fight, she is probably going to make an appearance, which will be alongside interesting reveals as well. Therefore, it is pretty interesting to consider what Jack would have been like if he didn't go through the insane overtraining in his younger days and never really had to resort to steroids, or maybe even never had this interaction with the doctor that led him down that path. Perhaps he simply lacked a level of guidance that Baki got from Yujiro in his younger years, which allowed him to succeed when it comes to the activation of his Hanma blood, as during the early days, particularly during Baki's 13-year-old flashback, endorphins and the Hanma blood were key factors that allowed the younger Baki to win certain fights and get an overall buff in power when required, alongside the mastery of various techniques, which even during the Masashi Miyamoto arc connected back to interactions with his father, Yujiro cultivating and building up his son for yes his own goals, but did give Baki an insane advantage in that regard, compared to the likes of Jack, who the ogre probably didn't even know existed until the maximum tournament, with the father and son's first ever interaction. So with all things considered, there's likely characters within the Baki world that have better overall genetics, but he by no means has it bad, or even the worst if I'm being honest, considering everything he's been capable of doing genetic wise throughout the series. So there you go, I hope you enjoyed. Shout out to these members, the absolute mad lads, especially this guy who donated over 110 members, and of course, have a good day.